YouTube has games. Apparently. Or playables, I guess? Yeah, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but if you scroll way down to the bottom of the sidebar, you can find this strange corner of the site where they started hosting browser games. Well, maybe you can. YouTube's been glacially rolling this feature out over the last 6 months or so, and they're as flaky as ever. It was there for a few people, and then it was there for some premium subscribers, and then it wasn't there for anybody, and now I guess it's just quietly returned for some random people. It's not hard to imagine why they're being so tentative about it. Public response has not been hot. People don't really want games on YouTube. We've got bigger problems. The fact that they abstain from actually calling them video games doesn't inspire much confidence either. As it stands, the whole effort's a bit of a laughingstock, but I like to keep an open mind. It's no good to knock things before we try them. I want to give these things a fair shake, so I'm going to play and review every single one of them in good faith, and maybe by the end, we'll even have an idea of why they're here. I mean, how long could it take, right? Right? There are 77 YouTube playables as of May 6, 2024. I've played them all what I deem to be long enough to get a good feel for them, which took over 10 hours. You know, this was supposed to be a shorter video. In the interest of speeding things up, I'd like to introduce you to our companion for this journey, the Vibometer. This little guy is going to sit here on the right-hand side of the screen. Don't worry, there's nothing important over there. And gauge the vibe I get from the current game. A rating of no vibes means that I feel like I completely wasted my time playing it. A rating of okay vibes means it's fine. I wouldn't go out of my way to play it, but it's serviceable enough. Good vibes means I liked it, and I would voluntarily play it for fun. Beyond this, there are 2 additional ratings. Negative vibes is reserved for games that are so actively bad that they kind of tick me off, and great vibes is for surprises so pleasant that I think you should go out of your way to play them. Now, is this rating system wildly subjective? Oh, you bet it is. But we can't reasonably expect any of these to strive for being much more than light casual games, so we're grading on a curve. What I want from a browser game like these is a nice pick up and play time waster, not the next Deus Ex. Being extremely simple isn't a knock against it if it's an enjoyable kind of simplicity. That does mean I may not have much to say beyond surface level observations, so the Vibometer will help us not get stuck in those weeds too much. While we're at it, I'm also going to make a few pit stops along the way to discuss some broader topics, so that we don't have to circle back around to them later. Consider this a kind of gaming road trip if you want. With all that out of the way, let's get this show on the road. 8-Ball Billiards Classic is a perfectly fine version of billiards, if very quiet. Exciting start. Alien Shooter is the most basic space shooter kind of game you can imagine. It's not doing anything for me. I think I like the one that came on my Zune more. There's a vibration feature, but that obviously doesn't do anything in my case because I'm playing this on my computer. As you'll see though, a whole lot of these are ports of mobile games. I guess those are pretty much the inheritors to the Flash game crown. Amaze! Is a very emphatic title for a simple game about sliding a ball around to color in levels. Press a direction and you'll be going in it until you hit a wall. There's almost no audio and the main levels are really dull, but the challenge modes can be fairly fun when they're not almost impossibly hard. I'd probably skip this one though because there's a much better version of a similar idea coming way later. Angry Birds Showdown is some mutant version of Angry Birds that has PvP. Or it's supposed to? Natalie's stock photo here has a profile picture and a name, but I'm signed into YouTube and I don't have anything. Just put a pin in that thought for now, we'll be coming back to that later. Otherwise, this is just a super bare bones version of Angry Birds with random matches instead of levels. There's definitely supposed to be more here, probably in the mobile version. Basketball Forever is basketball. Forever. Just keep shooting hoops for all eternity. No major issues here, but this kind of thing is probably more fun on a touchscreen. Bazooka Boy is high explosive Angry Birds. It feels about as rough as it looks. You earn money, but you can't spend it on anything as far as I can tell. This kind of level-centric game tends to be loaded with a nightmarish number of ads on mobile, but YouTube playables apparently have none at all. I don't have premium, and I double-checked that I didn't have an ad blocker running, but no, there really are 0 ads or microtransactions or anything in any of these games. It makes even the worst ones way more tolerable than they'd be as standalone mobile apps. It's easier to settle into a mindless slop groove when it's not being interrupted by anything. Block Drop is a puzzle game that's sort of like Tetris, but with free block placement, no gravity, and vertical lines. It's a pretty common formula, but this is a decent enough version of it. There's a splash screen for something called Game Snacks. I wonder what that's all about. Burnout's one of those troll logic brain teaser kind of games. It would be an enjoyable enough time if the music wasn't peaking constantly. Yeah, nah, this is just... let's move on. Bubble Pop Star is Bust a Move, baby! It's also our first game with no attempt at landscape support whatsoever, but I'll give it a pass. It has some light attempts at level design with the bubble placement and colors it gives you. It flows nicely. Good hustle. Still would have preferred an endless mode, but it's not bad. Cannonballs 3D. You have a cannon, knock stuff off tables. You normally only have a limited supply of cannonballs, but every few levels they'll give you unlimited to go ham with. Sometimes there's Minecraft TNT. The music gives it kind of a chill vibe. I dig it. Cards of the Undead is a nice little puzzle game where you shuffle around a grid of tiles, balancing your health and damage output to survive the zombie horde. It's not terribly deep, but I enjoyed it just fine. A little bit on the RNG side for my taste though. Carom Clash is... Wait, what is Carom? I've never heard of it. Just give me a second. It's an Indian game. It's kind of like Pool, but with discs. Cool. I'd usually only get okay vibes off of a straight implementation like this, but this presentation is kind of doing it for me. Between the chill tunes and the clickety-clackety disc noises, I can kick back with this, even if I suck at Carom. Chess Classic. Yep, that's chess. I swear, I'm not bad at chess. I just melt your eyeballs with my sheer skill if I reveal my true power. Collect them all. M being these bubbles, I guess. You connect them together and they make nice noises. The fake people are back, but they're just here to have their heads explode, so I guess that's fine. Color Burst 3D is a simple little game where you spin your ball around and match it to the ring of the same color. Or don't! The ones you need to go in all have a star in the middle, so focusing on the colors is pretty much a liability. It's not that fun. Color Match is a game about mixing colors to match an object and then spray painting your mixed color onto a copy of it. It would have some nice satisfying vibes if it weren't so dreadfully ugly. The controls are pretty awkward too, it's just Color Page ASMR is the first game with drawing QTEs since Heavy Rain. It's exactly what it looks like, though you're incapable of coloring outside the lines. It gets a little more fun when you realize that it'll never fail you, so you can just dumpster it as hard as you want. Color Pixel Art is... well, you color pixel art. Pixel by pixel. Click drag and pan's image so you can't do multiple pixels at a time, you just have to click on every individual one of them. Why would somebody make this? It's literally just grunt work. We invented the paint bucket tool to not have to do this. But hey, if you want a lot of grunt work, we got 152 levels of it. I've even got a video for you to edit too. Crazy Caves. Dodge rocks and engage in questionable mining techniques. The music gets old real quick and makes this much more of an ordeal than it needs to be. Hey, you guys remember Bubble Trouble? I remember Bubble Trouble. Cube Master 3D is just matching images on cubes. No music or anything, so it's just kind of dull. There's a combo system, that's nice. It doesn't really change how you play it because it's super forgiving, but it's there. Cube Tower is the most plotting and mundane tower defense game ever devised. The presentation is alright, but even if you absolutely must play a tower defense game on this page specifically, you can do better than this. Cut the rope? I know that guy, everybody knows that guy. Do little physics puzzles to get the candy to Om-Nom. It's the game that every physics puzzler has been ripping off for 14 years, and it's as charming as ever here on YouTube. Actually, this might be the best way to play it. There's no ads, remember? That's a good catch. It only gets good vibes because everybody already likes Cut the Rope, but it's a surprise meetup with an old friend kind of good vibes. Daily Crossword is a crossword. I'm not rating a crossword, come on. Daily Solitaire is, yep, that's Solitaire. Draw 1 Part 4 is the long-awaited 4th installment in the esteemed Draw 1 Part franchise, wherein you draw lines to fill in for the missing parts of stuff. It's not picky, or fun, honestly. Draw Climber is a racing game where you draw a leg shape for a block and try to beat another block through an obstacle course. Nothing crazy, but I find it fairly fun. Different leg shapes work better for different situations, but you can redraw them mid-race to adapt. In slow motion. In multiplayer? Yeah, forgive me for not believing in a stock wheel of Japan, but I think the jig is up. While the practice of just pretending that your game is multiplayer is extremely weird, it's been happening for a while now. It's hard to say where it really started, but I first remember seeing them in IO games. Networking is hard, and with games as simple as these, a decent bot could easily be mistaken for another human. So instead of making actual multiplayer, some developers just started pretending that it was there. Mobile games latched onto this for a different reason. It feels good. It's discouraging to download a new game and immediately get dumpstered by people better at it than you, so as far as player retention goes, it's smart to let you roll some bots instead. Some games use a mix of the two. For example, PUBG Mobile starts you in matches with bots and then slowly mixes you in with the human players instead. It works, and it isn't going anywhere. Anyway, we're going to be seeing a lot of these bots. They're easy to pick out. They almost always use simple usernames with stock photos for profile pictures, and if you can press play and immediately find a match, then it obviously isn't actual matchmaking. I'll keep pointing them out as we go along. Element Blocks is, hey Block Drop, it's been a minute.
Hello there.
This is functionally the same game, just with background music and a bit more theming going on. It's still okay. Emoji Puzzle is a game about connecting related emojis and being patronized. I don't know why, but something about this makes me feel deeply uncomfortable.
Oh.
Don't make that noise. Endless Siege is a better tower defense than the last one, with a different map daily. It's about as boilerplate as it gets mechanically, but it's okay enough. You should go play any Bloons tower defense instead, but as far as the ones on YouTube go, it's not getting any better than this. Farmland is a parable on being the last real human in a post-apocalyptic flooded world. Only through the acquisition of wealth can you recover the earth from the tides, but you may acquire stickman thralls to aid in your labor. In all seriousness, it's just super dull. Find Out is a hidden object game with some extra interaction. Tape the man, cook the egg, help the guy take a dump. Click randomly because sometimes it isn't really based on logic and the interaction zones are tricky. There's some personality to it though, which is in short supply around here, so I can get over it. Find the Alien is a hunt for alien scum. Break into people's houses and wave your wand around to identify disguised aliens, then draw your piece and blow them away. Sorry, am I interrupting something? Oh, that's rough, buddy. The game spontaneously develops a plot as the Xeno scum has the audacity to come to my house. This will not stand, so we raid their ship and start gunning them all down. But they just keep disguising themselves. They're everyone, man. They're the ice cream men. They're our family members. They're the police, the criminals, the gorillas, the cacti. We've got to rescue the cacti. Real talk though, I actually really dig this one. The gameplay's dead simple, but it's just fun to see all the goofy scenarios they made. Like, yeah, sure, Pennywise's balloon can be an alien, that's fine. Free Cell Solitaire. Yup. It has music at least, so there's enough for me to get a vibe off of instead of the absolute vacuum that the other Solitaire had. Free Kick Football is the basketball one from earlier, but for free kicks. It has some groovin' music and accurately depicts the telepathic powers of German football players. The collision is a bit funky, but it's a nice time overall. Full Speed Racing is pretty much Outrun in true 3D. Hey, wait a minute, I love Outrun! This one's got it all. It's fun to play, it controls well, it has good music, and the art style nails that retro but not ugly sweet spot. 90s Sega would be proud of that blue sky. The 8086 is here too, so that's pretty sweet. For the record, this is the only game here that I voluntarily came back to on purpose just to play more of it. My only disappointment is that it's just these 3 areas, but if this was expanded out into like a full game on Steam for a few bucks, I would totally be down for more of it. It's just that good! I think you should go play it! But maybe not right this second, we still have a ways to go. Gin Rummy is, yeah. I have no idea how to play Gin Rummy well, but this seems like a perfectly adequate version of it. It's getting really hard to say anything about these. Gold Mahjong Forever is Mahjong puzzles with a combo meter. This ain't your daddy's Mahjong. Experience some unknown quantity of Mahjong puzzles if you can handle it. Also, it looks kinda nice. Hide and Seek is a game about seeking, well, it feels a little generous to call us hiding so much as running away, but sure. Fake multiplayer's back. I can't imagine myself ever playing this out of anything but obligation. Except... Alright, we're about halfway through our journey, so now's a good time to hop out of the car and stretch our legs a bit. I'd like to take a moment to thank the brave souls who stuck around after that Division video. What few of you there are. That popped off and I really wasn't expecting it to, so it's been an odd couple of weeks. Yeah, I even made my main channel actually my main channel again, wow. Honestly, I kind of plan to make that as a one-off, but I'm happy to keep shoveling coal into this train for as long as anybody's on it. I've got more cooking, so stay tuned. Anyway, that's enough of the sappy stuff. We've still got a ways to go, so let's hop to it. Isle of Restaurants is naturally an idle game about managing restaurants. As far as idle games go, this one is perfectly okay. The game gates a lot of progress behind this arbitrary level system, so making money doesn't feel that impactful, which feels pretty bad. I get good vibes from this simply because it's the only game here where having it built into YouTube makes any sense whatsoever. I'm no stranger to having Cookie Clicker or Factory Idle up on my second monitor while watching a video. Us Zoomers gotta keep our brains occupied lest they seep out of our ears, so conceptually, an idle game like this that can run alongside something else is actually the best possible fit for a site that's trying to coax people into watching long-form video content. It's like overlaying Subway Surfers, but more socially acceptable. Jules Planet is the most unsatisfying Bejeweled clone I've ever played. The graphics are amazingly JPEG, and these sounds are just... no. It's broken up into matches against totally very real humans, and has some obvious holes where ads are supposed to be. Not much to say, but keep this one in mind, we'll be seeing it again later. Knock 'em All is a game about firing a cannon at robot guys. You automatically move through levels fighting waves of them until you get to the end, and sometimes there's an incredibly easy boss fight. This should theoretically be fun. I've already given the thumbs up to one cannon game today. But depressingly, you don't actually get to launch the enemies off of cliffs. If you get a headshot, it goes BIM and they instantly die, and the cannonballs don't have enough weight to knock them around anyway, so as a ragdoll physics enthusiast, I'm quite disappointed. Gonna have to stick with Dark Messiah, I guess. Ludo Carts is... oh boy. Alright, so it's a board game where you have 4 carts, and you have to loop them around the board and get them to the center. You roll dice to determine how far they can move, but you have to roll a 6 to get them out of the garage in the first place. Really, it's more like a parking lot, but whatever. Rolling a 6 also lets you roll again, and landing on another player's cart will reset it to their garage. When one of your carts passes the purple tiles, you get a single-use card that lets you do one of a few things, but they're not really that helpful. For this video, I played one match of Ludo Carts against the bots, and honestly, I think it may have been the slowest, most tedious gameplay experience I've ever endured. I was stuck here for 30 minutes! Carts being reset happens fairly often, and when you have to roll a 6 to get them back out of the garage, it can take an eternity to get back into the game. Poor Speedy spent like a third of the match just rolling for a 6 and failing every turn. When after a long time, one of your carts manages to claw its way to the finish line, which requires an exact roll, of course, the game reminds you that you actually need all 4 of the carts there. And the whole time, there's this 35-second long music loop playing, and by the end I felt like I was losing my mind. I don't understand, how is this worse than the one that's literally just grunt work? Lunchbox ready. You got food, you put it in lunchboxes. You don't make the food or anything, you just put it in the box. There's nothing to it at all, and it still feels like an improvement over the last one. Magic Cat Academy is... man, that's just a Google Doodle. Like, straight up, that's the Halloween 2016 Google Doodle. It still opens with the Google logo, and it's still a Google logo resolution. Like, it's a good Google Doodle with fun gameplay and a nice art style, but come on, really? At that point, you should at least have the Pac-Man one here, too. Makeup Kit Color Mixing. Scrape colors off of JPEGs and apply them as makeup. I am so out of my depth here, man. I guess the lo-fi hip-hop is nice. If I'm lucky, maybe YouTube will pick this up as being a makeup video and give me better ad revenue. That'd be pretty sweet. Mecha-Angelion. Not like that. It's like Punch-Out with Mecha. The crowd of people circling around you when you win is neat, but you can stun lock everything into the dirt, and that just takes all the fun out of it. It would have okay vibes if you couldn't just cheese it so easily. I mean, surely you would test for that while making it, right? There's also fake PvP, as per tradition. Merge Heroes is our third and final tower defense, this time with randomly drawn units so you can merge together to make them stronger. Very dull, very slow. There's definitely some kind of rendering bug going on here. I thought it was caused by using the dark theme, but apparently not. I guess it doesn't matter much, it wouldn't be a good time either way. Merge Master is ostensibly a strategy game about merging units to make better ones and throwing them at enemy waves. There isn't really any strategy to it other than just making the best units you can. Sometimes it gives you one free dinosaur as a treat. It also feels eternally sped up. Like, look at this. Is it possible for a game to have ADHD? YouTube Playables have me asking the big questions. Merge Pirates. Boy, we have a lot of Merge games, huh? Merge Pirates is a simple puzzle game about placing sets of pirate ships on a grid. If 3 or more of the same level are placed next to each other, they'll combine into one at the next level up, and level 8 ships immediately explode. Which is good, apparently. No stages or any of that junk, just go for a high score. It's surprisingly pleasant. Between the clean art style, the nice sound effects, and the Oblivion music, it's just a nice, chill time waster. God, my throat's gonna give out by the end of this. Mob Control HTML5, yes, it's really called that, is one of those mobile ad games you see all the time where swarms of little dudes get multiplied. It's not all that fun in practice, and of course we have fake multiplayer again. Since there's no monetization in these, you can also see where they are totally rigging the video ad bonus against you. Thanks, Voodoo. Moving Co. is a game about putting stuff in boxes. It's not especially fun, but I like the goofy physics and the incredibly unenthused announcer. Flat shading isn't my favorite visual style, but I think it presents nicely enough in this. My Perfect Hotel is a hotel management game. It works a lot like Farmland from earlier, just with room cleaning instead of agriculture. It's honestly a slog to play, but I like that the optimal strategy is to creepily follow guests into their rooms and watch them sleep. My space pet is about taking care of this thing. It's called Zoob, and I don't trust it. I didn't raise it from birth like a Tamagotchi. It's its own being, and I know better than to trust alien scum. We've also got such exciting mini-games as Flappy Bird and Snake. Cool. Northern Heights is the most basic snowboarding game conceivable. Click to jump off of ramps and... yeah, that's about it. There's no momentum or anything, so it just feels awful. I'll pass. Om Nom Run is a cut the rope spinoff about Om Nom running, if you can believe it. In execution, it's a Subway Surfers clone. Why? What's the connection here? As far as I remember, that dude just sat in cardboard boxes waiting for me to launch candy into his mouth. He didn't seem like the running type to me. It's not a very good version of Subway Surfers either. It's split up into levels because every mobile game apparently must be these days. But gameplay-wise, it's the same as ever, so all the levels do is interrupt your runs a couple of minutes in. We'll come to a better clone soon. Own it. On It from Earthbound? On It from Earthbound Connect Classic is a simple matching game where you can only match pieces that are adjacent or can be connected by a line with two bends through empty space. If that sounds weirdly clunky, well, it is. I can't put my finger on it, but there's something about this that just feels kind of bad to me, even if it's mechanically fine. Pirate Pop is another busted move, but it's a lot worse. It's preset levels again, but this time the bubbles you're given are entirely random, meaning it's totally possible to get a series of them that makes the level completely unwinnable. It obviously defeats the point of a puzzle game if the puzzle is impossible, right? Pocket Battle Royale is the most basic battle royale possible with all of the gameplay streamlined away. All you manually do is move and open chests. Combat's entirely automated. You'd think that you could at least dodge projectiles, but nah, they'll just hit you anyway. The only real strategy to it is opening every chest you see and finding the biggest guns so your numbers can beat their numbers. By playing you get levels and currency you can use for upgrades and cosmetics, but considering the multiplayer is fake, there is not much point in the latter. Real matchmaking sure don't look like that. Pocket Champions is football with little discs. If you can pass the ball between your discs, then you get an extra move so you can combo it into the goal. It's pretty fun, and there are some nifty little touches like the AI getting ticked off and attacking you if you smack into them too much. It sorta has fake PvP, but stops just short of implying that the opponent's a real person, so I'll let it slide. But I've got my eye on you. Rainy Boba Cafe is another Google Doodle. This time you're making boba tea for customers and just enjoying the nice rainy vibes. You even have the cat back, that's nice. It feels kinda ridiculous that there are two Google Doodles here, but this one's HD and it doesn't start with the logo, so it doesn't feel as conspicuous as the other one. Retro Drift is a racing-ish game about trying to keep this car on the floating road. Click to go up and right, release to go up and left. It's pretty mundane and the physics are questionable. Not offensively bad by any means, but you're not going to miss anything if you skip it. Running Pet Deck Room is another Subway Surfers clone, but this one at least has the decency to leave you to it until you fail instead of cutting you off like Om Nom Run did. The art style is kind of bleh, but there's a good variety of area themes. There's also some tacked on room decorating system to unlock new characters, but if you're just looking for great value Subway Surfers, you can just ignore that entirely. The only major problem is that the music loops at some random point in the middle, and it's kind of driving me insane. Scooter Extreme is the most unhinged scooter racing experience on the planet. In theory, you just need to get through the course in one piece, but life is never so simple. The controls are amazingly clumsy and possibly trying to kill you. You hold click to accelerate and to do flips in the air, so if you hit a ramp, you're instantly going full Beyblade. Not so bad for the big ramps, but if it was just a little bump, you are headbutting that tarmac. Rigor mortis sets in quick for scooter riders. Rest assured though, you are not suffering alone. The AI is no safer than you. Sure, there may be over a dozen competitors now, but pile-ups are common, and only the blessed few will live to see the end of this road. 80% of these guys are just set dressing. I mean, don't get me wrong, this game sucks, but man is it ever funny. Slice It All is another mobile ad game. Flip a knife around, slicing through stuff. It's clunky, but the physics make it satisfying, and it's another instance where having no ads makes it a lot more enjoyable. You also get to murder the laughing emoji. I'm sure some of you have been needing that. Slime.io is a single-player Agar.io battle royale thing with slimes. It's not very fun in practice, the pace is glacial, and the multiplayer is what made Agar.io fun in the first place. But I do like the slimes. Look at those funny little guys. Stack Bounce is yet another mobile ad game. Hold stomp through layers of the stack, but don't break the black bits. Combo hard enough to do a big stomp that may or may not kill you. It's all mildly neuron activating. State.io is a strategy game where you move units around to capture territory, kind of like high-speed Risk. Every territory creates a new unit every second, and you send them to take over enemy territories. Every stage moves the arena to a different area of the planet. In theory, this should be solid, but the AI is extremely reserved when it comes to capturing neutral territories, so you can easily outnumber and overwhelm them every time. While they introduce additional factions to try and make things trickier, they only actually make the game easier because the AI pays even less attention to you. Super Goal is another soccer game, but this time you're passing the ball around to sneak in a goal. It's a bit more interesting than Free Cook Football in concept, but it's let down by having really wonky collision that makes the whole thing feel bad. Darn! Tall Man Run is more mobile game ad stuff. Help the stick man become a swole beanpole so he can kick the only man smaller than him in the head. Is it a good game? No. Do I find the visual of this guy funny enough to enjoy it a bit anyway? You betcha. Tile Master plays like a 2D version of Cube Master 3D from way earlier. Just match 3 of the same piece until none are left. It's like Mahjong puzzles for people who hate difficulty and even numbers. Today's hurdle is... Man, that's just Wordle! I mean, technically it's different because there are 5 words instead of 1, and the answer is the first guess for the next word, but come on, that's Wordle. Tomb of the Mask is, dare I say it, a real video game. Remember 6 hours ago when I said there'd be a game similar to Amaze but better? This is that. Dash in directions to collect bits and dodge traps. There's a campaign mode with plenty of levels, but I prefer the endless mode where you're racing up a tower while being chased by lava. It's just a good frenetic time. That said, it's a port of a mobile game that's been around for 8 years, so like Cut the Rope, it isn't surprisingly good. Trivia Crack is the most basic trivia game conceivable. You just answer questions. There is absolutely nothing else here. I know for a fact that there's more to this on phones, so I assume that what we have here is a heavily stripped down version like Angry Birds Showdown. I'll see you all in Fortnite, class. Turbo Stars is like if Sonic 2 special stages somehow controlled even worse. Race down a big tunnel on a skateboard and collect as much as you can along the way. This is spectacularly slippery. I am just barely in control here. That said, I still like it a little bit, simply because you can pick people up off their boards and fastball them downfield. No game with that can be all bad. Words of Wonders is a word game where you string a set of letters together to make words. What you see is what you get. I mean, as far as basic word games go, it's fine. I can see my grandma liking it. It'd be nice if it didn't start with so few letters at a time, though. I totally didn't forget to record this the first time around. Don't worry about it, it's fine. Words of Wonders Guru is, wait, this is the next game, right? Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, this is literally the same game, just with different levels and extremely blunt hints for the answers. Come on now. Making a mode in the other one like the rest of the class. I'm giving this negative vibes out of spite. Zoo Happy Animals is a series of zoo-themed mini-games. It's obviously a kid's thing, but the animation quality is high for this bunch, and I enjoy the item that makes weird and mostly unhelpful things happen. Getting this dude annihilated by alligators is pretty funny too. Okay, that's all of them, 77 games. Boy, that took a minute, didn't it? Well, now that we've gone through every single one of them, we can... What do you mean they added 2 more? Okay, everybody back in the car, we're going into overtime. Dig Deep is a game about digging a hole. That's it, there's a hole and you dig it. You get resources from the hole that a guy converts to money, and then you use the money to hire more people to dig the hole. Sometimes you find stuff in the hole which you sell for money to hire even more people to keep digging the hole. Eventually the game gives you an elevator because the ladder just won't do anymore. Once the hole is deep enough, you can start digging a second hole, or you can just continue digging the first one. Is it enjoyable? Absolutely not. But somewhere in my brain, there's a primal urge to dig massive holes in the ground for no reason, and this game is satisfying it. Stealth Master is a speedy little stealth game. Sneak around buildings, clearing out guards until you reach the boss at the top. While the stealth mechanics are obviously very basic, enemies are at least able to notice dead comrades and raise the alarm. It's no chaos theory, but it's just enough to feel like a stealth game. I like it. It's nice. Okay. Alright, that's actually all of them for real this time. I think. When I went back to record the last two games, some of the ones I'd already reviewed were missing from the list, but they showed up again when I checked again another day. There might still be a straggler or two, but I've checked the numbers and they seem to line up, so we're just gonna say this is all of them as of May 9th, 2024. With that out of the way, it's time for the Playable Awards, the first, last, and only award show for YouTube Playables. At this event, we will be recognizing the playables that best exemplify each of our 6 categories, some more honorable than others. Winners will receive absolutely nothing by non-priority mail. Let's begin with the Alone in a Crowd Award. This award goes to the playable with the most blatantly fake implementation of multiplayer. We had some great competition tonight, but only one can take home the prize. Now, the Alone in a Crowd Award goes to Jules Planet! Yeah, see, I told you we'd be back here. On first blush, this seems like a perfectly innocuous stock photo opponent, but take a closer look. Do you see the issue? Leo here has a score of 22,248, but you only get points in multiples of 100, meaning that that's literally unobtainable. We've seen plenty of games where the other players being real is logically impossible, but this is the only time I've seen it be mechanically impossible as well. What a strong showing. Next is the Why Are You Here Award for the most befuddling inclusion. We've seen some strange games today, but this award is reserved for the one that should be here the least. And it goes to Magic Cat Academy! My brother in Christ, it's a Google Doodle! I can give Rainy Boba Cafe a narrow pass, cause at least it's a high definition Google Doodle, but come on! Third is the
Yeah, that makes sense
award for most sensible game to have on YouTube. This award recognizes the playable that is the least confusing to have on a video site. And the
Yeah, that makes sense
award goes to Idle Restaurants. I mean, obviously, what else would it be? Out of every game here, this is the one that can play complimentary role to YouTube's main content, you know, videos, the best. You'd think there'd be more idle games here, but you'd also think YouTube would add worthwhile features to their site, yet here we are. Next is the long-awaited Speed Bump Award for the worst playable encounter during our journey today. We've had some stinkers alright, but only one can be the worst. And that dishonor goes to Ludo Carts! Boy, this is just miserable, isn't it? The longest journey around a city block since Resident Evil 2, Ludo Carts is an exercise in sheer patience masquerading as a board game. Color pixel art may just be labor, but at least it's honest labor. Finally, we have the esteemed Actually Good Game Award for the best playable of them all. There have been some surprisingly decent games in here, so this isn't entirely meaningless. But first we need to even out the playing field a little. People are gonna yell at me if I give the award to anything other than Cut the Rope or Tomb of the Mask, but I mean, that feels kind of unfair, right? Both of those have been around for ages now. We all know they're good. There's no suspense there. So instead, I'm going to give the two of them the Billy Madison Dodgeball Award for the most unfair competition and shuffle them off stage. Yes, everybody clap on it. With that out of the way, I am thrilled to bestow the Actually Good Game Award to Full Speed Racing! I liked most of the games here by the standards of little mobile or web games, but nah, I think this one's just plain good. We're hurting for good Outrun clones, and I'm happy to add this one to the collection. The only major fault I can find with it is the Shorge Varia themes, but they're all good ones, and it ultimately does have to fit within the size constraints of an HTML5 game. If you're gonna play any of these, play this one. I mean, you may as well, they're already on YouTube. The video's almost over. You have my permission to bail out if you want. Well, that's all the games covered. But we never quite answered the big question. Why is any of this here? Whose idea was this? No one wanted it, so it's probably not drawing people to the site. None of it's monetized, so it's not another revenue stream. As it stands, Playable's being here serves basically no purpose to anyone. There's gotta be some reason, right? I mean, they wouldn't just do this for sport. YouTube isn't in any rush to tell us, so we'll have to figure it out ourselves. Our best leads are the developers associated with these games. Most Playables don't have any visible company names to work with, but the few that do share a handful of recurring characters. The best known is Voodoo, one of the biggest hyper-casual mobile gaming slop creators. Most of those mobile ad-looking games came from these guys, and are unsurprisingly straight ports of their existing mobile projects. So that's kind of a dead end. Phimobi is a company that ports phone apps to HTML5 to serve as browser games. I never heard of them, but it looks like they get around. The third, and by far the most promising, is GameSnacks. The site looks pretty innocuous, normal web game portal stuff, but I'm seeing some of the YouTube playables here. Oh, they ripped off Tree Dude from Super Hot. That's classy. Wait, what's that at the bottom? These games are brought to you by GameSnacks, a Google service? Okay, so GameSnacks is actually an internal Google project to churn out as many HTML5 games as possible to put into their existing services. It was born in 2020 out of a partnership with Indonesian ride-hailing service Gojek. Google was brought on to put HTML5 games in the app for some reason, and that library of games then started being rolled into other Google apps in countries like Indonesia and India. HTML5 games are a good fit for this because they have very low download requirements, so emerging markets with slow internet connections can play them just fine. It's hard to say exactly when GameSnacks began cropping up in the rest of the world, but here in the US we got the Android app in September 2023, so I'd reckon it was around then. Whether they're still being developed is also unclear. Some games on the site are listed as new, but the project is part of Google's internal Area 120 incubator, which was pretty well gutted back in early 2023. But GameSnacks is also a development platform, and while it's seemingly mostly abandoned, its SDK received a minor update in January 2024, so it's not totally dead. A lot of what's on the site hasn't been brought over to YouTube yet, so I expect that they'll just keep shuffling those over in the future. So why do YouTube playables exist? Well, my theory is that Google's just looking for any way to leverage this HTML5 game library in the rest of the world. They've already got this whole pile of them collecting dust, and out of all their services, it does make the most sense to put them in their main entertainment platform. I find it odd that there's no ads in them now, but if we dig around the SDK some more, we can find this section on monetization. It's a whole thing, but the long and short of it is that GameSnacks games must implement the SDK's interface for ad placement. If that's been followed, then many or all YouTube playables already have support for ads internally. This explains video ad rewards being present despite there being no ads to watch. The absence of ads must therefore be due to a lack of support on YouTube's end, and that is more eminently addressable. I'm absolutely sure that they'll add them to all these games given the chance. So what's our takeaway here? Well, for one, YouTube playables aren't actually all that bad for what they are. I mean, mostly. Some of them are pretty awful, but that's just the gamut browser games have always run, and there are some winners in there. But either way, they haven't found a home on YouTube. I've talked with quite a few people about playables while working on this video, and not a single one of them even realized that they were there. After all, they're buried in the depths of the sidebar where nobody will ever find them. The few who took notice of news articles about their addition regarded them with nothing but ridicule. No matter how you slice it, they have no future. The only long-term strategy that makes sense for YouTube is to inject advertisements into the games, but what good is that gonna do if nobody's playing them? We all know how happy they are to remove features that people use, let alone the ones they don't. So my bet? They'll be gone by this time next year. Man, this was supposed to be a fast video. Next one, not never, so... subscribe? Is it too late for that? Shoot.